In English opening, the starting move is on c4. c4 is a flank thrust that establishes control of the d5 square. It also allows the bishop on c1 and the queen on d1 into the game. By delaying the development of other pieces, white retains flexibility, and often this will transpose to other openings. For example, if d4 is played later in the game, it becomes queen's gambit. Popular variations in English opening include King's English Variation, Anglo-Indian Defense, Symmetrical Variation, and Agincourt Defense. Let us check the main ideas and plans for the English opening. Black reply e5 is called King's English Variation. It forms reverse Sicilian, but as it's white's move, white targeting an advantage leads to generally different positions. White's main options are knight c3, g3, knight f3. We recommend knight c3, taking more control on the important d5 square. Black can play knight f6, knight c6, bishop b4, or t6. We recommend knight f6, which is flexible and fighting for control on d5. Knight f3 is the natural developing move for white. Black normally plays knight c6, which is 4 knights variation. The game can proceed as follows: g3, d5, c takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop g2, knight b6, castle, bishop e7. The position is balanced with good chances for both sides. The next variation, knight f6, is called Anglo-Indian Defense. Black tries to keep their options open with this move. After a d4 advance by white, the game may transpose into an Indian defense. White's main move is knight c3, reinforcing the d5 control, although g3, knight f3, and d4 are also playable. If black plays to e5, game transposes to earlier variation. If black plays to g6, aiming for King's Indian Defense setup, we recommend e4 for white, taking more center control, especially on d5. The game normally proceeds as d6, d4, bishop g7. Here, white has many choices like knight f3, bishop e2, h3, bishop d3, etc. We recommend knight f3, a solid logical developing move. After castle, bishop e2, black normally strikes in the center with e5. The game can proceed further as follows: castle, knight c6, d5, knight e7. Although white has more central space, black can strike in the center and get good counterplay. Next variation, c5, is called Symmetrical Variation. Play differs significantly based on how white chooses to develop. For instance, 2 knight f3 indicates that white will try to achieve a favorable break with the d-pawn immediately, and black can then try to obstruct it and achieve his own d-pawn break. 2 knight c3, on the other hand, makes it harder for black to achieve that pawn break and indicates white's intention to develop first and then break the symmetry. The game can proceed as follows: knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, g6, e3, knight f6, d4, a pawn break in the center, c takes d4, e takes d4, d5, black's pawn break, c takes d5, knight takes d5, and queen b3, where the position is dynamically equal. The last variation, e6, is called Agincourt Defense, which is named after the Battle of Agincourt, fought between the English and the French. Black fights for the control of the d5 and plans to put upon there. Common replies to these opening are knight f3, knight c3, and g3. The game can proceed as follows: knight f3, d5, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, bishop e7, castle, castle, d4, d takes c4, queen c2, a6, a4, bishop d7, queen takes c4, and bishop c6, where both the sides have fair chances. With these main ideas and plans under your belt, now you can prepare and practice English opening from either side. All the best.